Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. We're about to dive into mastering Microsoft Dataverse licensing, a comprehensive guide to understanding, optimizing, and managing licenses for effective platform use. Over the next few slides, we'll explore the essentials of licensing, best practices, and tips to make sure you're getting the most out of your investment. Let's get started. Understanding the challenge of Dataverse licensing is essential because it can often be confusing for many organizations. When we have a clear understanding of how it works, we can better optimize our spending and ensure a smooth adoption process across different teams. Knowing the ins and outs of licensing helps us avoid unexpected costs and keeps us compliant with Microsoft's policies. The main source of confusion usually comes from the variety of license types, storage considerations, and the different user roles involved. This complexity can be overwhelming, but recognizing these sources of confusion is the first step toward mastering the licensing. Ultimately, the more we understand, the more effectively we can leverage Dataverse to support our organizational needs. Let's dive into some key takeaways for mastering Dataverse licensing. First, it's really important to plan ahead for future users and data growth. This way, you can scale your licensing and storage effectively without surprises down the line. Next, make sure all your internal users have the appropriate licenses. Staying compliant is crucial, so verify that everyone has the right access. It's also helpful to understand the scope of Dataverse for teams, especially if you're using it for lighter scenarios. Knowing its limits helps you avoid unexpected charges and manage resources efficiently. Speaking of costs, keep an eye on your Dataverse storage and API usage. Monitoring these helps prevent any extra charges that might catch you off guard. Finally, always choose the right license based on user roles and how they interact with your apps. Not everyone needs the same level of access, so tailoring licenses ensures you're using your resources wisely. All these points connect back to the bigger picture, making sure your Dataverse environment is scalable, compliant, and cost-effective as your needs grow. Today, we're going to dive into the core Dataverse licensing models and how to choose the right one for your needs. Selecting the appropriate license depends on several factors, including what your users need to do, the complexity of your applications, and your storage requirements. First, let's talk about capacity licenses. These are essential when you need extra storage for your database, files, or logs beyond what's included with your base licenses. If your organization is growing or handling larger datasets, capacity licenses ensure you have the space you need. Next, we have per-app licenses. These are a great option if your users only need access to one or two specific applications. They help reduce costs by giving access only where it's needed, rather than licensing full platform access for everyone. Finally, per-user licenses are ideal for users who require access to multiple applications and need the full range of platform capabilities. If your users are more involved with various apps or need advanced features, this licensing model provides the flexibility and access they require. Understanding these models helps you tailor your licensing approach to match your organization's unique needs, balancing cost and functionality effectively. Now, let's take a deeper look into per-user and volume licensing benefits. When it comes to mastering Microsoft Dataverse licensing, one of the key advantages is predictable and stable pricing, especially for organizations with many users. This means you can plan your budget more effectively without surprises. Additionally, these licensing models often include extra storage bundled in, which is especially helpful when you're supporting enterprise-scale deployments. This setup is ideal for companies with a large number of full users who need broad access to Dataverse features. They can enjoy access to premium features and custom apps, which can really enhance their productivity and customization options. Plus, each user typically gets a set amount of storage capacity included, helping you manage costs more effectively. Overall, volume licensing models offer scalability and flexibility, making them a smart choice for growing organizations. This approach aligns perfectly with our overall theme of optimizing licensing to maximize value and efficiency across your enterprise. Now, let's take a closer look at how per-app licenses can help us optimize our licensing spend. The key idea here is to match user needs very precisely to the apps they actually use. This means we're not paying for more access than necessary. By doing this, organizations can avoid incurring costs for full platform access when it's not needed, which can lead to significant savings. Additionally, these licenses allow us to assign specific licenses to the apps a user needs, rather than a blanket license covering everything. This targeted approach ensures we're only paying for what truly matters for each user. Per-app licenses are especially cost-effective for users who only need access to a limited set of applications. So, by adopting this strategy, organizations can control costs more effectively while still providing the right level of access. Overall, this approach aligns perfectly with our goal of efficient and flexible licensing management. Understanding capacity licenses and controlling costs is a critical part of managing your Microsoft Dataverse environment. Without proper oversight, storage overages can quickly lead to unexpected expenses, so it's essential to keep a close eye on your usage. Monitoring how much storage you're using helps prevent surprises and ensures you stay within your budget. Pay-as-you-go options are great because they offer flexibility. You only pay for what you use, but they also require careful tracking. If you're not cautious, costs can spiral if usage isn't managed properly. So, while these options provide adaptability, they demand regular oversight to avoid overspending. Now, capacity licenses aren't just about flexibility. They also include specific storage types for different needs. For example, log storage is included for auditing and diagnostics, which helps you keep track of system activity and troubleshoot issues efficiently. File storage is another key component. This is where you can store attachments and documents related to your records, making it easier to manage all your data in one place. And of course, database storage covers the core of your data, such as records and entity information, ensuring your applications run smoothly and data is stored securely. Ultimately, understanding these different types of storage and how capacity licenses work is vital for effective cost control and maintaining a healthy, scalable environment. Let's take a closer look at some common Dataverse licensing scenarios. Understanding these different situations is key to tailoring your licensing strategy to meet actual user needs effectively. First, there are cases where you might have special licensing considerations or exemptions. These are situations where certain users or integrations might not fit the standard licensing rules, so it's important to recognize and plan for those. Next, we have access via Power Pages. Because Power Pages have separate licensing rules, users accessing data through these portals may require different licenses compared to traditional users. Then there are external users. Often, these users are external partners or customers who might use Dataverse through limited access, sometimes with just enough capabilities to complete specific tasks. Speaking of limited access, we also have light users licensing. These users typically use Dataverse for teams or other lightweight scenarios, which means their licensing needs are more restricted and usually less costly. On the other end of the spectrum, we have full users licensing. These are users who need full access to premium apps and the complete platform features. They require per-user licenses, ensuring they can utilize all the capabilities Dataverse offers. By understanding these scenarios, you're better equipped to choose the right licensing options, optimize costs, and ensure compliance, all while providing the appropriate level of access to your users. Let's take a closer look at Dataverse for Teams, its capabilities, and its limitations. This version of Dataverse is best suited for small teams or pilot projects, rather than large-scale enterprise solutions. It's a great way to get started quickly, but there are some restrictions to keep in mind. For example, the capacity, security models, and advanced features are more limited compared to the full Dataverse. This means that if your project requires complex security or large data volumes, you might need the full version. The developer tools are designed to help create lightweight applications, so they're streamlined for simplicity and speed. Similarly, the features you get are simplified, limited storage, straightforward business logic, enough for basic needs. And importantly, many of these core capabilities are embedded directly within Microsoft Teams, making integration seamless. So, while Dataverse for Teams is powerful for small or initial projects, it's not quite ready for the demands of larger, enterprise-scale solutions. Let's talk about managing external users and licensing requirements. It's really important to master Microsoft Dataverse licensing to avoid any gaps that could lead to compliance issues. Proper management ensures that everyone who needs access is covered without overspending or risking noncompliance. When it comes to external access, applying Power Pages licenses correctly is key. These licenses are specifically designed for scenarios where users are outside your organization, but still need secure access to your data. Another critical point is differentiating between internal and external user licenses. You want to make sure you're assigning the right licenses to maintain compliance and avoid licensing violations. Remember, external users accessing Dataverse through Power Pages require a separate license that's distinct from what your internal users have. This distinction is essential for clear, compliant licensing management and helps you control costs effectively. In summary, proper licensing management isn't just about compliance. It's about ensuring seamless access for your users while keeping everything aligned with licensing policies. Let's talk about integrations and service accounts and some licensing tips to keep in mind. First, when it comes to using add-ons or special licenses for service accounts, it's important to do so only when necessary. This helps ensure you're compliant and not overspending. Next, you want to make sure all your integrations comply with Microsoft's licensing policies. This is crucial to avoid any compliance risks that could cause issues down the line. Moving on to monitoring, keeping an eye on your API usage is key. If you don't, you might run into overage charges, which can unexpectedly increase your costs. Finally, remember that application and non-interactive users often don't need full licenses. However, they still need to be managed carefully to ensure everything stays within licensing rules and operates smoothly. These points are all about balancing compliance, cost, and efficiency as we work with Microsoft Dataverse. Now, let's take a closer look at how Dataverse compares to SharePoint when it comes to cost and licensing. One of the biggest advantages of Dataverse is its simpler licensing model, which often results in lower costs overall. You won't face extra charges for basic storage or API usage, making it more predictable and budget-friendly. However, it's important to remember that Dataverse does have some limitations here. More advanced features, like premium capabilities or custom app development, require additional licensing. Its licensing can get a bit more complex because there are options for per user or per app licenses, which might be beneficial depending on your needs, but can also add to the complexity. Plus, there are storage and API usage limits. Exceeding those can lead to extra fees. On the other hand, SharePoint tends to be more cost-efficient upfront, especially for simpler document management and collaboration. But when you need advanced data management features, the licensing complexity of Dataverse becomes an important factor to consider, especially as your needs grow. Overall, understanding these differences helps us make smarter choices aligned with our project goals and budget constraints. All right, now we're moving into some practical steps to assess your Dataverse licensing needs. First, it's crucial to identify light versus full users so you can assign the appropriate licenses. This means understanding who needs full access and who can work with more limited permissions. By doing this, you not only optimize your licensing costs, but also ensure users have the right level of access. Next, it's essential to monitor storage and API usage trends regularly. Keeping an eye on these metrics helps you anticipate future needs and avoid unexpected costs or performance issues. Consistent monitoring allows you to stay ahead and make informed decisions. Then, you want to map each user to the applications they need to access. This step ensures that users have the right permissions for their roles, which improves security and efficiency. Finally, it's important to inventory all users and clearly define their roles. This clarity helps prevent overlaps and gaps in access, making your overall environment more organized and manageable. By following these steps, you'll be well on your way to managing your Dataverse licensing effectively and aligning it with your organizational needs. Now, let's talk about how we can continuously refine our licensing strategy using analytics and feedback. The key idea here is that ongoing data analysis helps us stay cost-effective and ensures the licensing remains user-friendly. First, we should leverage dashboards to track license utilization. These dashboards give us a clear view of how licenses are being used, allowing us to spot opportunities for optimization and avoid waste. Next, gathering feedback directly from users is crucial. We can use in-app surveys to understand how users feel about the licensing and whether they're satisfied with their experience. This feedback helps us identify pain points and areas for improvement. Finally, tools like UserPilot and in-app surveys enable us to analyze user behavior and see how features are being adopted. By understanding these patterns, we can make smarter decisions about licensing and feature deployment, ensuring our strategy stays aligned with actual user needs. Remember, refining our licensing approach is an ongoing process. Data and feedback are our best allies in making sure we're both efficient and user-centric.